My name is Brandy Nelbone, and this is a sample persuasive speech with a question and answer period. Donate Life New York's website reports that in 2011, a total of 6,669 people died while awaiting organ transplants. The Alzheimer's Association states that Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death here in the United States. And the Parkinson's Disease Foundation states that as many as 1 million Americans live with Parkinson's disease. Stem cell research may be the solution to all of these medical conditions. Through my investigations into stem cell research, I found that Dr. Ann Kesling, the founder of the Bedford Stem Cell Research Foundation, stated that there are as many as 100 million people in our country alone that could benefit from stem cell therapy. Tonight, I will discuss the need for stem cell research, and this information will help you to understand the relevance of stem cell research and how it could positively affect as much as 1/3 of our country's population. I will gladly answer any questions you may have a little later on, but at this time I would like to preview the main points. The problem is the Dickey-Wicker Amendment. The solution is adopting a cloning code of ethics and the advantages to adopting that solution. First, let's talk about the Dickey-Wicker Amendment. The Dickey-Wicker Amendment is immobilizing scientific progress in the field of stem cell research by being too restrictive and inflexible. According to the Genetics and Public Policy Center, parthenogenesis is lumped in with the other things that are banned as far as harvesting or collecting new samples of stem cells. Yet, according to Dr. Ann Kesling, there has never been an account of a parthenogenically activated egg ever developing into a human life form. The National Institute of Health also states that stem cells from dead embryos and biopsy blastomeres are restricted under the Dickey-Wicker Amendment. And these are cells that were simply going to be thrown away, discarded anyway, and yet we're forbidden from using them to advance our scientific knowledge and understanding. Now that you're aware of how restrictive the Dickey-Wicker Amendment is, you're probably wondering about the advantages of stem cell research. But before we discuss the advantages, let's take a look at one of the solutions. Repeal the Dickey-Wicker Amendment and permit federal funding for therapeutic cloning using a newly drafted cloning code of ethics. Therapeutic cloning is also known as somatic cell nuclear transfer. And in this process, you would actually be matching up the patient's DNA that is in need of the medical services. And you do that first by isolating their DNA from any other type of cell in the body other than an egg or a sperm cell, so it can come from their skin or virtually any other organ. Then you take a human egg that has not been fertilized, and you take out the nucleus from that egg. So you're extracting the DNA from the egg, and you're then putting in the patient's DNA. So you're nucleating the egg with the patient's DNA, and then at that point, after you've transferred the DNA, you stimulate cell growth. And you get it to the point where it is at the blastocyte stage, and there's two cellular areas. There's the inner mass and the outer mass. And the inner mass is where you would find the stem cells. You then take out those stem cells, and you can grow them then in a lab in a petri dish. And from this point, those stem cells are technically capable of becoming any other type of specialized cell in the body. But they cannot develop to the point of a human life form. In 2009, there was a survey done, and Science Daily reported on it. It took place out in Nevada. And it was a survey on therapeutic cloning. And they asked many different questions of the people they were surveying dealing with therapeutic cloning. One of those questions was related to cancer or heart attacks. And they were asking the people, would you support therapeutic cloning if it were used to cure cancer or treat heart attacks? And of the surveyed population, 2/3 supported therapeutic cloning for those two purposes. And that's shown here in the green on the pie chart. About 1 in 6 were undecided and either didn't know or needed more information. and approximately 1 out of 6 said no, they would not support therapeutic cloning for cancer or heart attack research. Another one of the questions was, well, what do you think about using therapeutic cloning to treat allergies? Here we see the green section did diminish some, but it was still 48 to 49% that said yes, we would still support therapeutic cloning even if it was for the purpose of treating allergies. The undecideds grew a little bit. The undecided section was 29% of those surveyed were undecided or needed more information. And about 26% said no, they would still not support therapeutic cloning for the purpose of allergies. So obviously the public knows their mind. They know what they're willing to support or not support. With that in mind, I suggest that we put out a survey asking the population, what do you support? What would you think would be acceptable reasons or ways of conducting this research? How do you feel about it? And using that information, draft a new cloning code of ethics to guide stem cell research. As a final point, let's take a look at the advantages of stem cell research. Dr. Ann Kessling said there are 100 million people in our country that could benefit from stem cell therapy. It would greatly improve people's quality of life. According to Donate Life's website, more than 100,000 men, women, and children are currently awaiting life-saving organ transplants. With this process, with therapeutic cloning, we could cut those numbers drastically, and people wouldn't have to be waiting for these life-saving transplants. According to the University of Utah's website, by going through somatic cell nuclear transfer, you would eliminate the chance of rejection because the organ would match the patient's DNA. And this would then eliminate the need for immunosuppressive medication, because anyone right now that receives a transplant of any kind has to be on immunosuppressive medication for the rest of their life so that their body won't attack the newly transferred organ. Stem cell therapy research could also lead to new cures and scientific understanding. As of right now, there is no known cure for Alzheimer's disease. There is no known cure for Parkinson's disease. There are only ways of managing the symptoms. And there are monetary reasons for supporting stem cell research. According to Midwest Technology Journal, direct and indirect costs for 6 common medical conditions that could benefit from somatic cell nuclear transfer are estimated to be over $4.5 billion per year, and that is just in the state of Missouri. The Parkinson's Disease Foundation website states the direct and indirect costs of Parkinson's disease is estimated at just under $25 billion annually here in the United States. Stem cell therapy could help to reduce those costs. That's a big savings, both in our government's budget, in personal budgets, in the family and friends that support these people that are needing these costly treatments. And according to the Life Science Institute at the University of Michigan, in contrast to research conducted with private funding, federally funded research is subject to federal oversights to ensure that the work meets the highest ethical standings and adheres to all federal rules and regulations. If federal funding is not available to support some of the most promising areas of medical research, then the majority of the nation's leading scientists won't be able to participate. Personally, I would rather have the best and the brightest working on this that could possibly positively affect as much as 1/3 of our country's population, being that they had the federal funding available, rather than hoping that the person who's able to get the private funding is up for the job. In conclusion, allow me to summarize the main points. The problem is the Dickey-Wicker Amendment. The solution is to repeal the Dickey-Wicker Amendment in favor of a cloning code of ethics. And the advantages are advanced scientific understanding and improving our quality of life. Let your voice be heard. Contact your representatives and your senators. Tell them that you want them to repeal the Dickey-Wicker Amendment in favor of a cloning code of ethics. The life you save today could be your own.
Thank you, Brandy. Question, please.
Yes?
Brandy, don't you think that what you're talking about gets into the area of playing God? I mean, we're talking about human beings and life. Sounds like you want to play God.
If I understand your question correctly, you're asking my opinion on whether or not I feel that stem cell research and therapeutic cloning is playing God?
Yes, please.
Okay. In my opinion, I don't think so. I don't believe that this is playing God. I feel that we have the knowledge, we have the means, and we are bettering people's lives, that taking advantage of something that naturally occurs in the body and that was given to us by Him, that's not playing God, that's simply using the gifts He gave us. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Are there any related questions? Does anyone have a new question? Yes?
Could you go back to your visual aid, please? I have a question about the second visual aid, the graph.
The graph visual aid?
Yes, please.
Okay.
On the graph on my right, I guess, why do you think the people were less supportive of asthma as compared to, say, lung and heart disease?
If I understand your question correctly, are you asking why do I think people were less supportive? And it was actually of allergies.
Of allergies, I'm sorry,
allergies
yes.
Than they were of cancer or heart attacks?
Yes.
Okay. I think part of it is that people are not as aware of how life-threatening allergies can be. They probably associate allergies with just getting the sniffles, the sneezes, those type things. And I think if they were aware of how life-threatening some allergies could be, I think this number may have gone up. But allergies is such a broad subject that I think that's why we saw some of the dip in support versus cancer and heart attacks. Usually when you hear of cancer or heart attacks, people think fatality. And I don't think that same association goes with allergies, even though it can be fatal. It simply depends on what the allergy is. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other related questions? Any new questions?
Thank you, Brandy.